that I will seek after, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, and to behold the beauty of the Lord, to inquire in his temple. And the Lord, this morning I want to say, make the Lord your light and your salvation. We understood that we're going to have a convention on the F&M, but I want to say this to some of you all, even on the government side. A winner never quit and a quitter never win. MCM Bahamas made a statement, say he's too legit to quit. I don't know what he mean by that. Amen? But a winner never quit and a quitter never win. Somebody say, well, boy, roughneck, I win my seat. Only to the grace of God you win your seat. That don't mean she's a winner. But I come to tell somebody I'm a winner, because a winner never quit. The stuff I use, I cannot lose. Bow your heads on your chest. Let us pray. Father, in the gracious name of Jesus, God, we come before you on this day, God. On the 16th day of February, God, this day that we've never seen before. God, we give you all the honor and all the praise, God. We thank you, God, for the sun. We thank you, God, for the moon. We thank you, God, for the cold, and we thank you, God, for the heat. Even we thank you, God, for the COVID, God. But most important, God, we thank you, God, for keeping us safe. God, as we do the business of the people in this house, God, we pray, God, that thou will intervene, God, and be in the midst of us, God, that will do everything in here in decency and in order. Let everybody say, amen. And thou hast taught us to say, children, what heaven. Hallowed will be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. May the peace of God be with you that passes all understanding.
Thank you. Philip Davis, Chester Cooper, Fred Mitchell, Glennis Hannah Martin, Obadiah Wilcombe, Alfred Sears, Dr. Michael Darville, Clay Sweeting, Keith Bell, Wayne Monroe, Vaughn Miller, Jobeth Colby Davis, Ginger Moxie, Mario Boleg, Jomo Campbell, Basil McIntosh, Miles LaRoda, Pia Glover Roll, Lisa Ramming, Zane Lightborn, Dr. Hubert Minnis, Jamal Strawn, John Pinder, Marcus Roll, Leon Lundy, Kirk Cornish, Wade Watson, Leonardo Lightborn, Leslia Miller Bryce, Leroy Major, Sylvanus Petty, Mikkel Bonnaby, Michael Pintard, James Kwesi Thompson, R.M. Lewis, Shannon Don Cartwright, Adrian Gibson, Adrian White.
Morning, members. There's no communication this morning, but I just would like to share with the members this morning that our honorable chaplain, somebody would have stolen his vehicle. And instead of reporting to the police, he came here to pray for us this morning. And I thought that was very commendable and honorable of him. But I'd like for us to see if we can just give him small donations today before the day's end, to just assist him with getting his car back. Thank you, honorable members. Now we'll move down the order of business. Introduction and swearing in of new writs, members. Laying of documents by ministers. No laying of documents. Statements and communication by ministers. Communications by the clerk. Communication, the chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
Come here. Good morning, Madam Speaker. Let's get it. Go back.
Chair recognizes the honorable member for West Grand Bahama.
Madam Speaker, we do have a few matters to lay on the table. With leave of the side opposite, we'll just go back one so that we can lay it on the table. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member.
Grant leave accordingly.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Rum, Kingston, Salvador.
It's a bill.
Okay, so,
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Fox Hill.
yeah, I beg leave to lay on the table a copy of the following. The Pensions Approved Authority National Crime Intelligence Agency Order 2022.
Order that the document be brought up.
I had some reports today come over. Reports.
Order the document lie on the table. Further laying of documents.
Madam Speaker,
Chair recognizes the
I
honorable member.
need to lay on the table the Financial Intelligence Unit Annual Report, including the 2019 audited financial statements.
Order the document be brought up.
60/02/2022. Got it right this time? Thank you.
Order that the document do lie on the table. Further laying of documents.
No further later documents.
Thank you, honorable members. Statements and communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Rum, Key, and San Salvador.
Madam Speaker, I wish to communicate to the House to report on the participation of the Bahamas in the 26th meeting of the Conference of the Parties, or commonly called COP. And in this instance, the 26th meeting is dubbed COP 26, which forms part of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The meeting was held in Glasgow, Scotland, from October 28th, 2021 to November 14th, 2021, and included the World Leaders Summit. Afterwards, I will table the full report contained in this communication. Madam Speaker, in November 2021, some 10 short weeks after taking office, I led the Bahamian delegation to Glasgow, Scotland, to participate in the most prominent global forum on climate change, referred to as COP26. My administration, deeply aware of the impacts of climate change, especially its manifestation through hurricanes, sought to ensure that the plight and struggles of the Bahamas were recognized and that efforts to address these issues would be at the forefront of the negotiations there. Through this communication, I wish to draw the attention of honorable members to the successes, achievements, and plans that came out from this meeting, and speak to other projects and programs being implemented as we now move forward in preparation for COP27. I will also draw attention to my government's climate change agenda in our blueprint for change. Madam Speaker, I'm incredibly proud of what we achieved. COP26 put us on the map as never before. It is no exaggeration to say that our participation greatly enhanced the profile of the Bahamas, and the increased attention from the international media and other world leaders shows the wisdom of our decision to participate. As you will soon hear, our participation's practical, tangible benefits were manifold. This was no easy feat, Madam Speaker, as the previous administration had done nothing by way of preparation. They didn't get it. It beggars belief that even after the experience of Hurricane Dorian, even with the impact of climate change dominating the global conversation, the previous administration chose to ignore the largest gathering in the world where the single biggest existential threat to all our lives was being discussed, and significant financing opportunities negotiated. Madam Speaker, it was only through the determined effort made by our team that we were able to secure flights, hotels, transportation, and other logistical arrangements at such short notice. We are deeply grateful for the efforts made and support given by the British High Commissioner and the government of the United Kingdom to facilitate our participation. My thanks also to our delegation at the United Nations in New York, our High Commissioner in London and his team, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs staff, the Department of the Environment, and the Office of the Prime Minister for their collective determination to make it all happen. Madam Speaker, in our blueprint for change, we published last summer during the election campaign, we committed to strengthening our cooperation with international partners on climate change mitigation. I'm happy to report that during COP26, the Bahamas significantly stepped up its representation on various UN climate change committees. In the past, the Bahamas was on the outside looking in. While rules were being developed and innovative climate finance funds were being accessed, we were not benefiting fully from these activities. I'm proud to say that as a result of our strong leadership at COP26, we now have the following Bahamians representing us on climate mitigation committees. In Article 6.4, dealing with carbon markets, Mr. Charles Hamilton was elected to serve as the Caribbean and Latin America representative. On the Kyoto Protocol Compliance Committee's facilitative branch, Dr. Lisa Benjamin, a Bahamian lawyer and a fellow of the University of the Bahamas, was elected to serve as the Caribbean and Latin America representative. These two Bahamians will ensure that mitigation issues of importance to the Bahamas remain on the table and are actioned through proposed global finance and programs. This is not just success for our administration, committed to fulfilling the promises made to the Bahamian people. This is success for all Bahamians. Our brightest and best amongst us have a seat at the table and can best represent our interests on all of our behalf. Madam Speaker, further in our blueprint for change, we also committed to strengthen and deepen international partnerships to secure the most beneficial commercial relationships in relation with climate change and sustainable development goals. In Glasgow, we also had the opportunity to engage with the two largest financial donors within the United Nations system, along with other financial agencies. As a result of our participation at COP26, the Bahamas drew international attention to the impacts of Hurricane Dorian, including its effect on our gross domestic product. For years, we have advocated that GDP was not an accurate indicator of a country's unique vulnerabilities or economic stability. I made the point back in September when I addressed the UN's General Assembly and did so again in Glasgow. Madam Speaker, every country's economy is vulnerable to environmental shocks. In recent years, our annual hurricane season has demonstrated the extent to that vulnerability. However, Hurricane Dorian, unprecedented in its size, duration, and ferocity, showed how these single events could completely cripple a country. Against this backdrop, the use of GDP to determine the level of financial assistance offered to our country is not reasonable. Therefore, our delegation consistently made interventions throughout COP26 that drew attention to this stark reality. We forcefully drove home this argument in discussions with the Global Environment Facility, a significant financial donor for environmental programs. I'm thrilled to report that at the recent global meetings of countries in January, the Global Environmental Facility indicated that they would be moving away from using GDP as the primary economic indicator. Currently, the funding available to the Bahamas through the Global Environment Facility for 2022-2023 is approximately $7 million. The Global Environment Facility is now proposing to use two indices, an Economic and Environmental Vulnerability Index, or EVI, and a Human Development Index, which is HDI. The EVI indicators would capture economic and environmental shocks, while HDI indicators would consider the country's health and living standards. This is a major win for the Bahamas and other Caribbean small island developing states. These new indicators are better suited to convey our country's realities and are likely to increase the mobilization of climate finance. This change will also aid in amplifying the continued efforts of small island development states to move toward the much needed multidimensional vulnerability index, or MVI. Most SIDS, small island development states, are considered middle or high income countries and are currently ineligible for concessional financing due to the present GDP income classification. This change will help secure the much needed financial support to address the adverse impacts of climate change. Therefore, progress on the development of the MVI is critical, and we need to support the efforts of our regional, Atlantic, and Pacific partner countries in having this addressed. Our technical teams will continue to advocate and negotiate for the rapid adoption and implementation of the multidimensional vulnerability by international financial organizations. The Bahamas can get much needed support to address climate change. Madam Speaker, we also met with the Green Climate Fund to discuss financial support for matters relating to health and building a sustainable, resilient infrastructure. The Bahamas is presently conducting a Green Climate Fund Health Readiness project managed by the Ministry of Health and Wellness with a capital value of approximately $800,000. Once completed, the Bahamas will be ready to develop and submit a complete health project to address the healthcare infrastructure needs within the country, which is estimated to cost approximately $300 million. The Green Climate Fund encouraged the Bahamas to move this plan forward as a Green Climate Fund health-based proposal of this magnitude would be the first of its kind globally. Once again, Madam Speaker, our efforts in Glasgow are already producing the kinds of benefits for the Bahamian people that have been sorely neglected in recent years. Our attendance at COP26 also allowed us to engage in discussions to facilitate partnership arrangements with other countries. The Bahamas held discussions with Israel regarding capacity building opportunities and technology exchange. We've also communicated with the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA they call it, headquartered in the United Arab Emirates, which we hope to put under the portfolio of the now non-resident ambassador to the UAE, Tony Jody. Other countries where we have common interests are Gabon, which is in Africa, and South Africa. We'll report further on these partnerships as they develop. Madam Speaker, one of the fascinating outcomes of our presence at COP26 has been stimulating interest among climate investors to come to the Bahamas. We strongly signaled that the Bahamas is a country seeking investors to present proposals for renewable energy. Our invitation to work with and advance renewable technology projects has created effective options to our sustainable development platform. Proof of concept projects are being developed to address energy gaps. For example, an OTEC project is being developed for Elutra, where power generation costs exceed profit capabilities. Concerted efforts to engage our continued competitive investor calls can only result in favorable outcomes for the country's lower costs and technological advances. A similar investor framework is being examined to address public transportation improvements, which may yield, for example, environmentally friendly and sustainable public buses. Once these partnerships are confirmed, these programs will be flagged as national development projects, and the Bahamas will be in a position to target global financing in climate change funds. The capital budget requirements would be in the hundreds of millions of US dollars. So financing these national level projects would significantly contribute. I wish also to highlight two vital international partnerships concluded at COP26, significantly benefiting the Bahamas. In addition to representation on UN climate change international committees, the Bahamas at the highest level took a seat at the table with other national leaders as the newest members to the NDC partnership. The NDC, or Nationally Determined Contributions, is our country's roadmap to addressing climate change mitigation and adaptation challenges. The NDC partnership supports countries like the Bahamas and provides a platform for knowledge and information sharing. More importantly, it assists in aligning our nation's NDC goals with much needed climate finance and resources. Being a member of this partnership means that we no longer be the Johnny-come-lately from our region. We now have a seat at the table. We joined the second critical partnership, which was the Coalition of Finance Ministers for Climate Action. Madam Speaker, it is hard to overstate the significance of this. Membership of the coalition provides us access to new and emerging strategies to integrate climate change into our economic and financial policies. It also offers us access to investment opportunities that support climate action. As only the second CARICOM member state to join this committee, the Bahamas is leading in influencing international monetary policies and decisions. Our country will be on the cutting edge of climate finance mechanisms. Madam Speaker, less than 6 months in office, this is what our New Day administration has already achieved for the Bahamian people. And this is still just the beginning. As a result of my administration's efforts during COP26, we have further arranged to be elected next in line for the following UN Climate Change Committee seats related to, firstly, loss and damage. And secondly, we'll have a seat on the committee to facilitate implementation and promote compliance with Article 15.2 of the Paris Agreement. Membership of this committee is strategically essential because all world actors must be held accountable to uphold their commitments to carbon reductions under the Paris Agreement. Madam Speaker, I call for more significant support for financing and technology transfer of our country at COP26. Our administration ensured that we now have people in the room at the UN Climate Change Committee level. I'm pleased to announce further that Dr. Rihanna Neely, has been appointed to the Adaptation Committee. We will next be in line to be elected to the Adaptation Fund Board through the appointment of Mrs. Rochelle Newbold. These boards and committees directly influence how international funds are distributed for projects and programs aimed at helping developing countries adapt to the harmful effects of climate change. Madam Speaker, the Bahamas has advanced several training opportunities for capacity building. For 2022-2023, we have negotiated a series of training opportunities to ensure Bahamians are trained for climate change-related jobs. Successful candidates will then be identified as national and global experts with these training certifications. The 2022-2023 UN certification offerings are centered around collecting, analyzing, and reporting on greenhouse gases for the following sectors in the Bahamas globally, namely agriculture, forestry, industry, energy, and waste. Candidates who complete the courses will be able to apply for consultant positions for people with such skill sets, which are being advertised internationally. Additional capacity building activities, which will be undertaken this year to enhance our data collection and climate reporting requirements, are evaluation and assessment of institutional arrangements, the development of a national inventory improvement plan, and support with developing energy statistics. Madam Speaker, COP26 was the first time the Bahamas hosted a side event at any conference of the parties. Our side event, titled Hurricane Dorian, Analysis to Action, Mobilizing Nature-Based Solutions and Partnerships with Resilience, was seen by nearly 1,000 people at the conference. This event was produced in partnership with the University of the Bahamas, the Nature Conservancy, and the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection. Bahamian experts spoke in more than 15 side events, proving that Bahamian people can hold their own on the international stage. Our delegation advanced public education and outreach activities with the most vulnerable amongst us in the country. This was achieved through a virtual event with more than 130 Bahamian students from across 5 islands of our islands. Some exciting youth and educational partnerships were formed for climate action, climate education that the team is pursuing. We'll share more in the future about these initiatives. These long-term strategic positions will significantly enhance the Bahamas' voice and role in global decision-making. Under our administration, Madam Speaker, this is how the world would mark the manner of our bearing. Throughout our blueprint for change, we made clear that the young people of the Bahamas are not just our future, they are very much key to the success of our present. As well as appointing significant numbers of young people to critical role in our administration, we recognize the need to involve young people in the key opportunities and challenges of our time. Before traveling to COP26, I engaged with the Bahamas caucus of the One Young World organization. Since then, my office has committed to partnering with the University of the Bahamas and One Young World to host a youth climate change dialogue tomorrow on February 17, 2022. Young people worldwide will participate, and I look forward to their discussion. This engagement is the first of several initiatives by my administration to connect, collaborate, and strategize with young people on climate change matters. Additionally, my government has agreed to host a youth climate conference, which will be held at the University of the Bahamas from July 6th to the 8th, 2022. Young people worldwide will be invited to engage with Bahamians from 15 to 30 years of age to debate and discuss issues including climate change mitigation, adaptation, loss and damage, and climate justice. Along with our private sector partners, we have committed to ensuring that at least 2 students from each of our family islands can participate in this event. And we're going further, Madam Speaker. I'm proud and excited to announce that we have appointed 2 climate youth ambassadors to help us to engage and empower young people on the world stage. I'm delighted to inform the House that Ms. Maya Delaney and Mr. Bradley Watson are the first 2 youth ambassadors to hold this post. And as we make preparations for the Bahamas to be well represented at COP27 in Egypt, my government, assisted by partners in the private sector, is committed to ensuring that at least 8 youth representatives will form part of the delegation from the Bahamas. These students will be identified through a national selection process. The former retired Justice Ruby Nottage has agreed to lead the committee making that selection. We hope all young people interested in climate change will put themselves forward in what is expected to be a competitive process. And we will continue to do what we can to ensure that the voices of young Bahamians can be brought to the highest level of international discussion, debate, and negotiation. Madam Speaker, at no time in our history have the Bahamian people been so actively involved and aware of climate changes happening on the international stage. And at no time has the presence of our people been so necessary. We are one of the countries most vulnerable to climate change. To do nothing, to say nothing, not to show up, not to raise our hands and voices and be counted, this is not an option for our administration. I am proud, Madam Speaker, to be leading an administration that gets it. Our presence at COP26 in Glasgow was a game changer for our country and our Bahamian people. And we will continue to make every effort to secure a better future for our country. I pray God's blessings upon us all as the world marks the manner of our burial.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the document be brought up.
That's question time.
Further laying of documents, right? Use of ops. Further communication by ministers. Oh. Thank you. Yeah, further communication. Other documents do lie on the table. Further communication by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member from Marco City.
Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm keenly aware that during government communications, it is not a time of debate. But what is also true about government communication is that they ought to be non-controversial matters. And Madam Speaker, I wish to put on the record that several assertions by the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador were patently false about the isolation of the Bahamas post-Dorian. We attended COP25, Madam Speaker. No less than 2 ministers of the government attended COP25 after Dorian and spoke in multiple forums with respect to the situation with respect to the Bahamas. We also attended the Our Oceans Conference as well. There's a list of international conferences that we attended and represented the Bahamas.
Chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island.
Why don't I speak? I never spoke about the presence or absence of the former administration at COP25 at all. I never said anything about it. I never said anything. I spoke about COP26, what I met in place at COP26. I'm a speaker. If he has an issue with it, there'll be a time to debate. This is not the time to debate. I never spoke about COP25.
Honorable member.
Did I speak about COP25?
Honorable member.
Speaker.
One member is on the floor.
Speaker, there'll be a time to debate that.
Yes.
Speaker.
I agree.
We'll have time
I
to
agree.
debate that. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, honorable member. Further communication by ministers. Further communications?
Communications.
Communications by the clerk.
Madam Speaker, I beg you to report delivery.
Honorable member. The House clerk, the clerk is on the floor.
One of several speaking across the
Well, speak to me.
One of several.
Madam Speaker, I beg you to report delivery of messages numbers 1 to 5 to the Honorable the Senate.
Thank you. Honorable members, I'm laying messages from the Senate 1 through 5 on the table. Honorable members, I'm also laying from the Auditor General the report for the Ministry of Tourism. Order all documents to lie on the table. Messages from the Governor General. Messages from the Senate. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign, seat and new writs. Presentations of petitions. Presentations of reports of committees. Adoption of reports of committees. First reading of bills. First reading of bill. Chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
Madam Speaker, I beg leave to introduce, I've read for the first time a copy of the following bill. A bill for an act to amend the National Honors Act 2016.
Second.
Thank you, honorable member. Order the document be brought up. Okay, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that this bill be read for the first time and tabled. As many are in favor, remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Order that the bill be read for the first time.
A bill for an act to amend the National Honors Act 2016.
For the first reading of bills. Second reading and committal of bills. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Central and South Eleuthera.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam Speaker, sorry. I'm like, I'm back in the Senate, man. It's a new day. I rise on this occasion with a grateful heart to the Almighty for the privilege to stand in this honorable place today. I am humbled that the people of Central and South Eleuthera continue to place their faith in me, and I am thankful that I have the support of my family to be here to play an integral part in changing the course of history and making a positive impact on the lives of Bahamians now and for the future. It is on this premise that I am cognizant of the fact that the business we undertake in this place is serious, impactful, and in every instant, the lives of Bahamians near and far are impacted by these proceedings. Madam Speaker, permit me for a few minutes to extend sincere condolences to the families of Mr. Eugene Carey of Tarpon Bay, a former manager at Power and Light, then BPL, a businessman and patriarch in his community, to the family of Corrine Thompson of Deep Creek, and to the family of the late Edwin Tony Simonet of Rock Sound, Eleuthera. I would like to especially extend condolences to the family as Mr. T. Simonet, as he was called, was one of the first stalwart councillors named in South Eleuthera for the Progressive Liberal Party. Alongside his predeceased friends and fellow nation builders, the late Albert Sands and Junior Gibson, Nurse Gloria Strawn, Philip Knowles, they worked closely with the father of our nation, the late Sir Lyndon Pinlin. These are just a few of the pioneers who helped to shape the community of Rock Sound and transform it into the modern community it is today. T. Simonet was an enterprising man, establishing a heavy equipment and road construction business that is responsible for building roads in communities throughout the Bahamas. His contributions to the Progressive Liberal Party could never be forgotten, and his legacy continues through his children. And at this time, I pray for their strength and express condolences on behalf of my wife, Delia, and I, members of the Progressive Liberal Party. May his soul and that of all the departed rest in peace and rise in glory. Madam Speaker, I rise today to provide clarity and full disclosure on the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute Bill 2022 as laid on the table of this House on February 2nd. Madam Speaker, education is the basic building block for the enhancement of our society. It is a foundation for knowledge and success. Proverbs 4:5-7 says, "Get wisdom, get understanding. Forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee." Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Traditionally, we have used word-of-mouth instruction and education to pass down the traditional of farming throughout the Bahamas. Over the years, we have failed to monetize this industry, and we have failed to provide a proper value chain, and we have failed to improve the instructional method to ensure that this generation and generations to come get a full understanding of the value of farming. We have failed to maintain adequate records and data to substantiate farming as a viable career option. To ensure that our generations are wiser, we must establish a solid foundation for the transmission of knowledge and understanding. See, food security or insecurity is continuously mentioned and widely discussed. As a country of just under 400,000 people, we must utilize our resources to find ways to feed ourselves. Countries with greater challenges and setbacks have done so much more with fewer resources. It is imperative that we act now to redirect our course. You see, the introduction of this bill today seeks to be the very foundation for this to be a reality. We must look at food security in a holistic way, understanding that the implementation of all our methods to get to the point must align. Understanding that we must be intentional. We must not continue the practice that leads to a duplication of our efforts, which can lead to further wastage of government revenue, as we have seen in the past. Over the past 4 years, there has been a considerable increase in budget at Bouncy, but we have not seen where this increase led in any way towards increasing our growing capacity. I've said in this place before that upon coming to office, we met Bouncy in a poor state. Over the period of 4.5 years, and despite an increase in budget, there are several shocking realities. The beautiful buildings constructed were without electricity, and to facilitate the tour of the campus, the generator had to be turned on when myself and my team visited Andres a few months ago. All the furniture to equip the buildings lay on the floor still in boxes that they were shipped in, catching dust. The once thriving aquaponics site looked abandoned. Broad stocks were drastically reduced, and the entire farm looked like an eerie scene from a horror movie. Madam Speaker, you know, it's always good to say something, but when I spoke to the board at Bouncy, when I met them for the first time, I told them that they had to go see it for themselves, because the harsh reality is seeing is believing. Yes. So this is Bouncy today at the aquaponics site. Nothing is happening there except a few fish in a pond. But I'm going to bring you a contrast. Hold that, Paul, sir. Thank you. This is what Bouncy was before we lost office. So, you see, I bring the before, I bring the during, and this could be the after too. So we'll keep this one. You see, and this is just in 4.5 years. So when I speak about what's happening at Bouncy, you got to bring reality, you got to bring photos so people understand, because they're not had the opportunity to really visit there. Proverbs 29:18 says, without vision, the people perish. And you see, while I understand that this political arena, you feel like you get more brownie points if you prove that your predecessor's plan was a bad idea. You get to be the hero if you bring him or her down. And I suppose that to reduce the impact of the contribution of the former prime ministers would make one feel even more victorious. See, the crowd yells, there goes Jack, he slayed the giant. He saved us from a bad idea. Feels good for a minute. You see, then the reality hits. Governance sets in. The plan was a really good idea. The plan, if continued, would have made the successive minister a true hero, especially during the unforeseen pandemic, as we would have been able to rely on the produce of Bouncy to feed ourselves. Yes. We would have been able to reduce that $20 million price tag from our expenses. We would have had a thriving model to extend to the other islands by now. But for some, it is more important to look like the victor than actually be victorious. Someone sent me a voice note the other day where our first prime minister the Right Honorable Sir Lyndon Pinlin, in an address to the nation, articulated a vision for Andros that focused on agriculture and marine resources. It is unbelievable that this vision, which is now modeled around the world in small nation countries, was articulated for implementation here some 25 or more years ago, and it is yet to be realized. He spoke of Andros and our rich soils being the breadbasket of our country, for the manufacture of food, domestic products for domestic and export capacity. Yes. He envisioned using almost every aspect of the island's resources to expand and to spark economic growth. Using the ocean to farm shrimp, fish, and products. Conch farming to manufacture rare cultured pearls. Utilizing the land to not only grow produce, but to use the rich soils to create beauty treatments and the trees to mill wood. The plan, if carried out, would have already made Andros a city center with agricultural and marine activities and a center of industrial production. Yes. This vision, crafted to diversify the economic growth and potential of Andros, would have been beneficial to the entire country. To date, I think we can all agree that while not yet achieved, Andros has the capacity to fulfill that mandate. Yes. A few years later, another prime minister of more recent times attempted to broaden that vision through the establishment of Bouncy. The Right Honorable Perry Gladstone Christie, former Prime Minister of the Bahamas, he understood the assignment. He took up the baton and instituted Bouncy and enshrined it in the National Development Plan for the Bahamas. He not only created Bouncy, but he set out a framework to support the Institute and to support farmers and the farming industry. We have seen what Bouncy can produce. We live in unprecedented times, Madam Speaker. We live in a time where illnesses and diseases are spreading and creating pandemics. We live in a time where the incidences of cancers and obesity and related illnesses are at an all-time high. In truth, while we have seen an exponential increase in the cost of food prices globally, we have and we are continuing to pay an even higher price when we neglect the high cost of these imported foods and the toll it is taking on our physical health. Throughout the pandemic, we were constantly reminded of the havoc that COVID-19 coronavirus would have had on our bodies if we plagued with any underlying health issues. Obesity is an underlying health issue. You know, I try and exercise a little bit now, besides eating healthy. You know, but in diabetes is also another underlying issue with a lot of people in Eleuthera having this disease wreak havoc on their bodies. Hypertension, and we know, which we know as pressure, is also an underlying health issue. You see, all these health issues that in many instances can be controlled by dietary adjustments and exercise. Through Bouncy, its affiliated farmers program, and its short courses, we can, if each of us choose to, we can change the course of our own lives by eating local. Yes. Eating local provides us with the opportunity to eat foods that are organic or grown with less chemicals to extend shelf life of produce with less additives. We can begin to realize that a healthier lifestyle, healthier bodies, lives to fuller lives. We have seen how the pandemic has created havoc on our healthcare system, making it very difficult to enter the hospital for critical illnesses. We must choose to take ourselves out of harm's way to the extent that we are able to by ensuring that we give ourselves a chance to be healthier and reduce our dependency on the healthcare system. If we don't do it ourselves, we must make a conscious decision to do it for our children. We can include them in short courses offered by Bouncy to engage in backyard farming, teaching them the importance of growing their own foods. By practicing healthy habits, we give them a fighting chance to consider the health of their bodies at an early age and live healthier and happier. As a parent with a challenged child, the hardest thing to accept is that my wife and I can do absolutely nothing to improve our son's health. If his condition could be improved by small dietary changes, we would do them now. We would do what it takes to ensure that our son has the best chance to live a full and healthy life. But for us, it isn't that simple. But many parents have children with diabetes and other health issues where the impact can be reduced through small behavioral and habit changes in diets and exercise. So parents, teach your children to have a healthier lifestyle, which is achievable through eating locally grown and organic products. Buy local, Madam Speaker. When Bouncy is at our fullest potential, the economic impact on our country will notice the change. Bouncy and the affiliate farmers program have shown us only a small bit of her potential thus far. Our annual food import bill from America alone continues to be in the excess of $620 million and almost $1 billion globally. This is a high price tag. Imagine being able to reduce this bill and reinvesting the savings in the growth of agriculture, mariculture, through science and technology. I contend that Bahamians at large have read the blueprint for change. Small changes can create big economic opportunities for our country. Every generation, our leaders have expanded on a vision of economic prosperity through agriculture. We have lived through some extremely challenging times, and I believe that we as a nation are collectively ready to meet these challenges head on. We are ready to reduce the talk and see action in the growth of agriculture and marine resources. Madam Speaker, most people know me, and as Minister responsibility for Bouncy, I will admit that I'm not full of fluff and flowery words to pontificate the grandiose ideas. You know, I'm a businessman with a background in fishing and farming, and I don't believe in wasting time expanding on verbal sensation. You see, I'm a man of action.
Yes.
I was sent here by the people of Central and South Eleuthera to do a job, and I endeavor to put the people's funding to good use, to create ways to ensure that there is a sustainable model created to reduce reliance on a public funding where necessary and where it is impossible, to ensure that these funds are utilized to maximize the benefits for the Bahamian population at large. We have invested the people's monies, and we cannot allow our egos to get in the way. If a plan is in place that makes sense, we have to build on that plan. Simple. Bring new vision to it and offer successive leadership. As the saying goes, the young people in Central and South say they ain't got no time for slapping up. In just a few short months, our teams are working. I intend to take the baton left hanging by two of our former prime ministers and run the next leg of the race. Now is the time for the vision to be realized. We are at a critical period in our development as a country as we move from vision to action. This is why it is so important for us, now more than ever, to introduce the Bouncy Bill. This bill is being implemented to lay the educational foundation for the future of agriculture and marine science in this country. This bill provides for the legal framework and guidelines for the operation of the institution. Upon the passing of this bill, Bouncy will be able to operate at 100% functioning capacity. This bill will give the president and board of directors over the institution autonomous control over the affairs of Bouncy, aligning it on par with the other institutions nationally and internationally. Speaking of precedent, Madam Speaker, indulge me for just a moment as I publicly welcome and introduce Madam President of the Bahamas Agricultural and Marine Science Institute, Senator the Honorable Dr. Resia Hepburn. will serve as the first female president of this institute, another in the long line of females accessing to leadership roles in our country to drive the message of change. Dr. Hepburn is well known throughout education, having served at the University of the Bahamas for many years. Dr. Hepburn comes to us with a vast array of knowledge in the field of agriculture and life sciences, sustainability, and environmental management. Dr. Hepburn is a graduate of Tuskegee University and Clemson University, where she received her bachelor's degree, then master's and PhD, respectively. We have no doubt that her expansive knowledge, her network of professionals, Dr. Hepburn understands the challenges and will work collaboratively to ensure that BAMC is among the top-tier institutions for agriculture and marine research. The Bouncy Bill 2022 will now give the institution the legal framework to solidify agreements with other educational and research institutions as it attempted to enact with the University of Miami. BAMC can now see these type of relationships established and provide expert training, research, and instruction that our students need to grow the agricultural and marine sectors in this country. This bill will legitimize BAMC as an educational institution for science and research. It will not, I repeat, it will not be a farm selling produce to compete with local farmers. BAMC students will, however, create marketing plans and value chains as it pertains to research and agribusiness planning. They will create models for Bahamian farmers that make sense through data collection, science, and technology. These students will be able to place a monetary value on items grown or produced at BAMC. We all know that and have seen farmers around the world that have become millionaires. The Purdue's and Idaho farms and the grain giants of the world exist everywhere but the Bahamas. Students at BAMC will be provided the economic model for our farmers to grow to international standards and rival with other conglomerates. Farming will be a highly sought after career path. You know, I've said in this place before that we are bringing sexy back to farming. Sex. Come to Spanish Wells, boy, you'll understand the accent. All you good Spanish Wells friends. BAMC will provide much needed research to be able to expand our growing capacity, collaborate with other institutions for an exchange of knowledge. Our budding farmers should be exposed to educational opportunities right in their own big yard. Yes. BAMC could and should provide a seed repository and have thousands of seedlings available to transport to any island at any given time. We have seen the devastating effects of Hurricane Dorian, and we know and understand that we have to tailor our own solutions to climate resiliency in farming. We must be able to build our seed repository. We must increase our animal stock. We must ensure that we have a hatchery. We must ensure that we are self-sufficient. The Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute Bill 2022 will remove the undue influence that parliamentarians and ministers and government have on the daily operations of the Institute. No more calling a member of parliament or the minister to influence who gets hired, or fired. The board of directors and the president can together pursue relationships with other reputable institutions to promote, position, and strengthen BAMC. They can create opportunities for BAMC to create income and expand programs. Madam Speaker, I think that I started at 30 minutes. I think I should have more time than just 30. Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you. The Bouncy Bill, the Bouncy Bill 2022 is setting the legal framework to ensure that the actions of the board of directors and its president is transparent and accountable. The board will be required to submit annual reports of the institution's progress, and the board will be mandated to prepare a full audit no less than 3 months following the beginning of each fiscal year. The reporting of which will be laid on the table of this House. You see, transparency and accountability, Madam Speaker. The Constitution of the board speaks to the commitment to ensure that the operation and functioning capacity of BAMSI aligns with the progress of this country. In order to increase the proficiency and efficiency of the Ministry of Agriculture, Marine Resources, and Family Island Affairs, we will ensure that the functions of our departments and corporations are assessed to reduce duplicity, provide functionality, and reduce wastage of public funds. We must reduce the red tape. We must reduce the red tape.
Yes.
We must reduce the red tape and increase staff productivity. Madam Speaker, in order to make BAMSI more efficient, I will also, under Section 10, subsection 1, as Minister, ensure that an academic board committee is created to oversee the quality, assurance, and standards compliance of the academic component of the Institute. This will give meaning to Section 10B, which is consistent with the requirements of all institutions of higher learning. There is also a need for a board or committee that will oversee the conduct of the outreach program. This committee will be subordinate to the presidential authority in having base complementary with academic program. Madam Speaker, I also intend to bring a small amendment to Section 1 of the schedule where we will remove the words Governor General and replace it with the word Minister. This section of the schedule deals with the appointment of the 11 members of the board, and the amendment brings it in line with other sections of the bill. Madam Speaker, colleagues, you will note that my ministry is embarking on travel in the coming days to attend the Food for Future Summit in Dubai at the World Expo. Not only are we attending these events, but our country will once again be exposed to the global leaders in food production, education, science, and technology. I have been invited to bring remarks at the Global Leaders Symposium by Her Excellency Miriam Al-Mahedi, UAE's Minister of Climate Change and Environment. My technical team at the ministry have been working nonstop to ensure that our country gets the exposure needed to garner international support to grow our agricultural and marine industries. Our team will comprise of the Bahamas Agriculture and Industrial Corporation, the Bahamas Agricultural Health and Food Safety Authority, the Department of Marine Resources, the Department of Agriculture, and Bahamas Agricultural and Marine Science Institute representatives. As I mentioned earlier, each of these sectors of the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources will be working hand in hand to streamline efforts to simplify the way forward to the maximum benefit of farmers and the Bahamian populace. Their presence at the World Expo Food for Future Summit will spark innovation and creativity, and we will be exposed to new science and technology, new ways to improve on data collection, and reduce the investment costs while increasing yield potential for our farmers. BAMSI will be present. BAMSI will forge the relationships with leaders in education and innovation and translate that to our incoming cohort of students. In this place, I have said that we will make agriculture attractive again. We are putting our money where our mouth is and making the changes necessary to make this happen. In addition to international travel, my ministry will be traveling at the end of the week to the beautiful island of Eleuthera, my home. In fact, we will be in the great constituency of Central and South Eleuthera to reopen the packing house in Hatchet Bay. Madam Speaker, this packing house has been closed for 4.5 years. Madam Speaker, the Hatchet Bay Farms once served as a source of fresh food products. I remember growing up People always talk about Hatchet Bay in the heyday, and I remember every campaign, we say, what Hatchet Bay used to be? We could bring that back. But this minister is bringing it back to Hatchet Bay. Back then, we had organically raised animals, providers of dairy and manufacturing for the entire archipelago. Many, ice cream too. Well, I don't remember, but I've heard stories. Many have lamented over the reinvigoration of this sector, and many have longed for her to return to her glory days. And my ministry is seeking to do the same. We will cut the ribbon on the newly refurbished building, which will become the first in its kind on the islands as a farming hub. We're working along with BIC to accomplish this, and I thank the chairman for letting me bend his ear to speak about how we can revitalize this industry. You see, farmers will be able to get their provisions of nationally approved fertilizers. A seed repository will be established. A greenhouse will be erected at the packing house as a teaching tool and a model for farmers. By the end of this calendar year, we will establish a food processing kitchen to turn what would be wasted produce into jams, jellies, pickling, and other methods of processing and preserving foods. Additionally, we will install a mobile cooling system to transport produce from Eleuthera to Nassau as we create marketing and sales avenues for farmers to sell their produce and meats to wholesalers and other commercial entities seeking to reduce their import costs by buying local. We are building on the foundation to grow the agricultural and marine industries in the Bahamas. Students from Eleuthera that attend Bouncy and earn their degrees and certificates will have a place to work as we continue to improve the industry by ensuring that a properly trained cadre of farming professionals in agronomy, soil science, animal scientists, and the list goes on. We must encourage our students in the areas where we need dedicated professionals to continue to expand these industries. We cannot rely on chance. We endeavor to demonstrate through Bouncy that there are viable career paths to follow. We are going to demonstrate through Bouncy that we can make millionaires through farming, technology, and innovation. We are going to undertake this nationally while simultaneously wooing our global community and signaling to them that we are open for businesses, collaboration, and partnerships. And some people might say that it can be done. But I'm from a community that in the 50s was a very poor community in this country. But they found a way through innovation, expanding on the fishing industry, to have been very successful in creating a full circle economy based on this industry. Yes. Once persons across the nation realized that fishing was lucrative, it followed. It became popular. And people want to know why I speak to being sexy and attractive. You see, it's because if it's a popular thing to do, people will follow. So once we create an example of a farmer that's been a millionaire, that we've created and assisted to become a millionaire, others will follow because young people want to make something of their lives. Bahamians want to be successful. So as a minister, I am going to do my ever best, along with my PALSEC and other members of my team, chairman of BIC and Bouncy, to ensure that we create models for young persons to become successful in farming. Madam Speaker, on another note, over the past 18 years, the Bahamas has maintained a ban on the importation of Canadian beef in a response to a 2003 outbreak of BSE, or mad cow disease, which is a chronic disease affecting the central nervous system of cattle. As this poses a significant threat to animal health, it was classified as a controlled risk for BSE by the World Organization for Animal Health, or OIE. As recently as the 27th of May 2021, Canada was officially recognized by the OIE World Assembly of Delegates at its 88th General Session as having a negligible risk for BSE in accordance with the OIE Terrestrial Animal Health Code. In response to this change, the Bahamas Agricultural Health and Food Safety Authority, or BASA, drafted conditions of import in line with OIE recommended conditions of import for countries with a negligible risk status for BSE. This provides the appropriate level of protection for the Bahamas veterinary public health and therefore would make the import ban unnecessary. Madam Speaker, this Davis-led administration continues to create a legacy on improving food security in this country. Canadian beef has been imported to the U.S., repackaged and shipped to the Bahamas for some time. Eliminating the middleman should assist in lowering the cost of any product in any industry. My ministry understands we must look at short-term avenues to lower the cost of food in our country while creating a long-term food sustainability roadmap. This government understands the assignment. With that backdrop, Madam Speaker, I would like to announce that the government of the Bahamas is removing the ban on the import of Canadian beef and all beef from countries meeting the OIE recommended conditions of import to harmonize the Bahamas agricultural trade policy with international standards in regards to beef, as well as appropriately protecting Bahamian health. This has been a long-standing issue, Madam Speaker, and I'm glad that we understand that we must find ways to lower the price of food, and I hope this is a step in that direction. I would like to thank Dr. Christopher Worrell, our BASA, and Dr. Hassan from the Department of Agriculture and their teams for spearheading this accomplishment to ensure we not only look at the economic benefit, but keeping in mind the importance of protecting the health of our nation. Yes. Madam Speaker, our blueprint for change recognizes the urgency and the emphasis that must be placed on food security. This David-led administration mandates that this ministry is serious about food security. This journey begins with laying the framework that is devoid of political theatrics. Laying the framework for Bouncy is setting a course so that no matter who sits in the seat, the mandate of improving our food security is achieved and not derailed. Yes. The survival of our country depends on it. Yes. The resilience of our people demands it. Under my leadership, the ministry will achieve it. And the new day in agriculture, marine resources continues today. Madam Speaker, this bill is progressive and has my ministry's full support. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Is there a seconder? The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Southern Shores.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to second the motion for the proposed act to provide for the establishment, incorporation, governance, control, and administration by a board of the Bahamas Agricultural and Marine Science Institute, and for the matters connected thereto. Madam Speaker, I must first of all give the Almighty God all the praise and all the glory for what He has done in my life. David admonished us in Psalms 34, verse 8, "O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusted in Him." Madam Speaker, we all could declare in this house that we are blessed if we put our ultimate trust in the Almighty God. Madam Speaker, before I make my contribution, I must also thank the great people from the greatest constituency in the South, Southern Shores, for giving me this opportunity to represent them in this honorable house. I also take this opportunity to thank my church family, the Promised Land dwellers from Pilgrim Baptist Temple. Thank you for your many prayers, encouragement, and support. Madam Speaker, I am privileged to be asked in this proposed piece of legislation because this legislation, Madam Speaker, is all about our future. Madam Speaker, we have come to a time in our national development where we as a people, that certain elements of government should be on a sure footing. That we, Madam Speaker, we must not let political fray rise above it. We've come to a time where decentralization has become an absolute necessity, Madam Speaker. This fact is recognized by everyone that is truly committed to good governance in the best interest of the good people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Decentralization is one of the hallmarks of good governance, Madam Speaker, and I am delighted to be a part of the Davis administration, which is demonstrating its commitment to the ideal of decentralization. It is very clear, Madam Speaker, that even the average man on the streets, that the Bahamas must move to a new direction if we are going to stand any chance of managing the challenges that are ahead. Madam Speaker, this New Day government is prepared to do just that. We cannot totally, Madam Speaker, be depending on our good neighbors in the north. We cannot be depending on our brothers in the south, nor our friends in Asia or Latin America. It is time now, Madam Speaker, that we as a government, we as a people, put our boot on the ground, pick up our shovels, embrace technology, and move our country forward towards food security. Madam Speaker, before the 1970s, the Bahamas was on a good trajectory. While we had not yet attained it, we were well on our way to food security. We were able to sustain our needs with several locally grown crops, along with many agricultural produce. Eleuthera, Madam Speaker, once supplied us with pineapples, milk, and ice cream, and even tomato paste. Abaco, Madam Speaker, was exporting millions of dollars worth of citrus and vegetables to Florida. And Madam Speaker, just over a decade ago, a surge took place in Andros, where Andros was producing sufficient watermelons, onions, and like other products to supply the entire Bahamas. The driving force, Madam Speaker, behind that surge was an institution birthed by the PLP government, birthed under the Christie Davis administration, and that institution is called Bouncy. Today, Madam Speaker, that surge has been diminished. The driving force, which is Bouncy, was neglected, and very little was done for the progression of Bouncy in the last 4.5 years. The building, Madam Speaker, was not open. No permanent water, lighting, Madam Speaker, the equipment was not maintained, and Bouncy was unloved. But that's okay, Madam Speaker. That's okay. If the baby in yours, you're not going to take care of it. But this New Day government, Madam Speaker, this New Day government, we govern differently. We always do what is right in the best interest of the Bahamian people. And the policies that is in the best interest of the Bahamas and our people, we will continue and we will enhance it. Madam Speaker, no good government should afford to abandon a perfectly good arrangement that is advancing the public interest because we cannot take credit for it. Bouncy, Madam Speaker, was developing into a fine, state-of-the-art institution, educational institution in North Andros. It really should have been the engine that drives food production, that drives distribution in the Bahamas. But Madam Speaker, never again should a change in administration cause a disruption in our drive for food security. Our national debt stands around some $10 billion. And Madam Speaker, that ain't right. That ain't good. We could never sustain that. We should never be in that predicament. Our expenditure should never, and we should never allow it to continue to exceed our revenue. But Madam Speaker, again, that is not right. And why do we continue to spend over $1 billion every year importing food? Madam Speaker, no good Bahamian and no true Bahamian would want to see that trend continue. And that is why we are here today. We are here today, Madam Speaker, to get it right. We are here today to make it right. And Madam Speaker, we are here today to fix it. Our able Minister of Agriculture and his team, Bouncy and BAIC, we are on a quest to revolutionize agriculture in the Bahamas. And we want to make agriculture, as a matter of fact, he wants to make agriculture sexy. Today, Madam Speaker, tomorrow, Madam Speaker, he and his team will be traveling to North Eleuthera to meet with farmers. We're going to be dealing with land issues. And on Friday, we're going to open the newly renovated parking house in Hatchet Bay. And this will be the beginning of the agriculture revolution in Eleuthera. Then, Madam Speaker, we'll be going to Abaco. Then we're going to Andros. Then we're going to Long Island to continue the revolution. We're coming to Grand Bahama too. We have plans for San Salvador, Madam Speaker. We get some good plans for Cat Island. We get plans for Exuma. We got plans for Acklins. Madam Speaker, we are laser focused, Madam Speaker, in bringing our beloved country to a level of food security and food sustainability. We're determined to decrease that $1 billion importation of food supplies, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that does not only apply to fruits and vegetables, but also to livestock, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have import $9.1 million, Madam Speaker, of pork into this country last year. We have imported mutton, Madam Speaker, $7 million. Chicken, Madam Speaker, and turkey, over $30.8 million, Madam Speaker. And what is so unique about it, Madam Speaker, our chicken not only came from America, but it came all the way from Brazil. We get chicken meat coming from Poland, Madam Speaker. Chicken meat coming from Spain and Norway. Madam Speaker, we import $3.6 million worth of fresh tomatoes. Onions, Madam Speaker, $4.1 million. When 4 years, matter of fact, when the last PLP government was in power, Madam Speaker, we had too much onions. But because of Bouncy, Madam Speaker, because Bouncy was neglected, now we are importing $4.1 million in onions. We had onions to give away and to throw away. But we're going to fix that, Madam Speaker. Sweet potato, over $500,000 be important. Plantain and bananas, Madam Speaker, $4.5 million. Sweet pepper, $2.7 million. We can fix this, Madam Speaker. We are resilient people. We are smart people. But Madam Speaker, in order for this to happen, we need to get Bouncy on a good footing. And like I said, Madam Speaker, we're here to fix this. And we're here to reduce this. And we're here to get it right. But we need Bouncy. Presently, BAIC is working on a banana planting project, Madam Speaker, where we want to grow 200 acres of bananas and 200 acres of plantain. And we are going to invite 40 farmers, and we're going to give them 10 acres of land to grow the bananas, Madam Speaker. To grow the bananas, Madam Speaker. Because we wanted to deplete that $5.3 million. We could do this, Madam Speaker. We are the government. We are PLPs, and this is a new day. But, Madam Speaker, we need Bouncy. From the beginning of time, the PLPs always get it right. We always get it right. Madam Speaker, I'm speaking with a group of Bahamian businessmen. I am speaking with a group of Bahamian businessmen who wants to get into the poultry production. Madam Speaker, they want to bring in over 30,000 broilers. But Madam Speaker, in order for that to happen, we need Bouncy. Why do we need Bouncy, Madam Speaker? Because Bouncy is that agricultural institution that will train, Madam Speaker, that will train this current generation of farmers, and will also train the generation of farmers to come. Madam Speaker, Bouncy will give the farmers the support. Bouncy will give the farmers the training, the knowledge, the technique. That's why we need Bouncy, Madam Speaker. Bouncy will improve the standard of agriculture production in the Bahamas. Bouncy will produce the next generation of agriculturalists, agronomists, animal scientists, soil specialists, animal nutritionists. That's why we need Bouncy. Bouncy will introduce greenhouse parks throughout our archipelago to train our young farmers, the millennials, the modern techniques of agriculture, greenhouse farming, vertical farming, hydroponics, aeroponics, aquaponics. Now that is making agriculture sexy. Bouncy will bring stability to our agricultural sector. Madam Speaker, at BAIC, I need Bouncy. I need Bouncy to operate effectively and efficiently in the agricultural sector. Madam Speaker, for 2021, BAIC paid $500,000 to our local farmers that bought their produce to our packing houses. We want to do better than that, Madam Speaker. We want to triple that. As a matter of fact, we want to quadruple that. But we need Bouncy. Without proper guidance provided to the farmers, without the technical support to the farmers, our committed farmers would be inadequate to supply and build consumers' confidence to meet the demand. That is why we need Bouncy. BAIC is a corporation that is a special area in the ministry and indeed the government. I am grateful to the Prime Minister for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. My chairmanship at the Bahamas Agricultural and Industrial Corporation is going to be a wonderful experience because of this bill. Madam Speaker, I have not been at the corporation long, but I have already fallen in love with the wonderful team there. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I am ready to fall in love with the wide scope of work of the corporation. But the time has come, Madam Speaker, for a paradigm shift in BAIC's approach to development, production, and distribution in the Bahamas. And I am very happy to be at the helm of the corporation at this particular time. Madam Speaker, I'm extending BAIC mandate. Our corporation will have a presence on every major family island in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Our vision for food security and sustainability shall be accomplished. The Davis administration is serious, Madam Speaker, about food security in the Bahamas. But Bouncy must be the nerve center for food security. And this institution must be the middleman between the farmers and the distributors. With this bill, Madam Speaker, this administration is seeking to do just that. This bill seeks to provide the institution with everything it needs to accomplish its mission. I have faith in this Parliament, Madam Speaker, and I will speak optimistically about the passage of this bill. I have no doubt that this motion will be successful, and I believe that every member in this House wishes to see the Bahamas succeed. Madam Speaker, any member that voted against this bill is unkind to the Bahamian people. We love our country. We love our country. So, Madam Speaker, after this bill would have been enacted into law, and after it would have received its ascended date, I pledge my full support and the cooperation of BAIC. And I assure that the government body of Bouncy that you will find the ministry a valuable source of assistance. It has been my experience so far. That is why, Madam Speaker, this legislation is critical. This legislation is of utmost importance because it will not allow Bouncy to be stagnated again. It will not make room for abandonment, but it will make room for empowerment. It will make room for good governance, and it will make room for productivity. And so, Madam Speaker, I look forward to the passage of this piece of legislation. I also look forward for the newly empowered Bouncy getting into action so that we can move to the larger idea and the vision of food security in this country. With those few words, Madam Speaker, I second this motion. May God bless you, Madam Speaker. May God bless the work of Bouncy. May God bless the wonderful people of Southern Shores and the entire membership of Pilgrim Baptist Temple. And Madam Speaker, and Madam Speaker, may God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for a second time and committed. A bill for an act to provide for the establishment, incorporation, governance, control, and administration by a board of the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute and for matters incidental thereto. As many? The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Marco City.
Show some love now.
Oh, Lord. Pastor, God bless you.
Madam Speaker, it's once again an honor to have this privilege and honor to be in this House, to speak on behalf of the people of Marco City and by extension, Bahamians across this country. Madam Speaker, today we are debating the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute Bill 2022. I found it interesting that members opposite, as they spoke about this bill, inclusive of a sermon just delivered on the value of this bill, the member for Southern Shores and the member for South and Central Eleuthera conveniently omitted the fact that the very administration that it charged as having done nothing over the last 4 years happened to have played the pivotal role in helping to frame the legislation that is before us. Successive governments have played a role in bringing this bill to the table. And it would have rang a little truer, more authentic, had the government done the honorable thing in terms of making mention of the value of continuity in governance. Madam Speaker, I've had an opportunity on multiple occasions to speak to this Parliament and through this Parliament to the country about the need for us to address the food security issue. And I've never done so in a tribalistic manner. Certainly, it is a bit jarring to hear the comments by the person who moved and seconded this bill when talking with agriculture, about agriculture, especially since in every case we made major decisions and adjustments in agriculture, the member for South and Central Eleuthera was invited to be a part of a consultation process along with the leader and deputy leader and members of parliament who now sit in government. We sought to brief the
chair recognizes the honorable member for Central and South Eleuthera.
I'm not sure what consultation the member from Marco City is speaking about. The only consultation, and I commend her for that, was when they was drafting the fisheries legislation. That's the only consultation this member had an invitation from the side opposite.
Thank you, honorable member.
Madam Speaker, I'm grateful that the member confirmed that we have consulted with him and his colleagues, and in each case, allow me to finish the comment. And this is Jack in the Box. Relax, let me complete the statement. Madam Speaker, in each case, we traveled to the island of Eleuthera. We paid the courtesy of inviting those members of parliament, and I believe on more than one occasion, the member for South and Central Eleuthera was present. I've extended the invitation to members opposite, and on more than one occasion have briefed members, and that has been stated on the record in this House by members who are here. So we've done so. The foundation on which we stood when we were in office is a foundation built by successive administrations. So if we're going to be successful in addressing the $1 billion import bill, 650 million roughly, fruits, vegetables, livestock, flowers, and the $400 million or so with processed food, then governments have to be continuous. And I would assert that the foundation on which this present administration stands is largely built by the work done over the last 4.5 years. Let me make the case. So when one wishes to be disingenuous, at least come armed with the facts.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Fort Shelter.
Again?
On a point of order, and my point of order is grounded in a member shall not use offensive, abusive, insulting words about any member. This honorable member from Marco City, disingenuous. It would have been truer. All of those words, and the member is well aware of the language, is imputing dishonesty. Madam Speaker, the honorable member can choose to emphasize what they have done. But it is certainly not parliamentary for the honorable member. You want to make my contribution, East Grand Bahama? It is not parliamentary for this honorable member to be looking on this side, talking about truer, talking about disingenuous about this honorable member. How is that parliamentary? And Madam Speaker, I restrained myself. But when it came to the 6th time, I had no choice.
Thank you, honorable member. Chair recognizes the honorable member for Marco City.
Madam Speaker, I would resume looking where I was looking before, which is actually the Bahamian people by way of the camera, as opposed to what is asserted by the member for Fort Charlotte. But let me say this, that what was represented by the member for Southern Central Eleuthera did not capture the facts as they exist. And I intend to make that case. And if you'd give me an opportunity, you seem to be in a very defensive mood today, member for Fort Charlotte. There's no need. I'm just going to lay out what the facts are.
Recognizes the honorable member for Fort Charlotte.
Madam Speaker, this is not a personal. This is the rules of the House of Assembly, which applies to all of us. And therefore, certainly, if it applies to all of us, it must apply to Marco City. You're no exception.
I'm sorry that.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable.
Madam Speaker, let me begin by first going back to comments made by the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador. Madam Speaker, the impression that have been given by this administration is that in 4.5 years, and it ties in, I'll come to the point in just a moment, that in 4.5 years, the Minnis administration has been isolated from the rest of the world. So when the point is raised on accuracy of speech or impressions given, it's important that we respond. COP25 was held after Dorian. Our Oceans Conference was held after Dorian. The SEDEMA meeting in St. Martin was held after Dorian. The IECA meeting, the Intergovernmental Agency on Agriculture that represents the Organization of American States, of which we are a member, had a series of meetings after Dorian. The FAO had a series of regional and hemispheric and global meetings post-Dorian. In each case, the Bahamas was represented. Not only were we represented, this administration has access to the decision-making bodies of multilateral organizations as a result of the efforts we made to place us on the governance councils of these organizations. So it is untrue to assert that we are returning to engagement in the international community. We have never left engagement in the international community. And that is a chorus, that continues to be asserted by this administration, and they ought to discontinue doing so.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Fort Charlotte.
Madam Speaker, on a point of order, again, the honorable member, first of all, it's a communication. The honorable member for Cat Island never spoke about CAP 25. He spoke about preparation for CAP 26. And therefore, we're talking really about oranges and apples. And it was a communication.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Marco City.
As I asserted, Madam President, this is no return to international engagement. We have continued to be engaged in international meetings with our counterparts, and the work that is presently being done by the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources, the Ministry with responsibility for the environment, the Ministry of Finance on the blue economy discussions are a continuation of grounds and foundations laid over the course of the last 4.5 years as well. Same technical officers. So all of a sudden, this administration would have us believe that the same technical officers were doing nothing for the last 4.5 years, when in reality, we were fully engaged in international discussions, collaboration that resulted in increasing amounts of revenue coming to the Bahamas and assistance by multilateral agencies.
Madam Speaker, I think the member should withdraw the comment that the government, is asserting that the technical teams were doing nothing in the last 4 years. I think the leader of our government, when he spoke this morning, was talking about policy and initiation of policy by the administration. he never talked about the technical staff. The technical staff obviously continued their work in preparation as they have been for decades now. So the truth is, Madam Speaker, the member is misleading. We ask the member to withdraw that.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Marco City.
Clearly, my point about the numerous trips that have just been identified, our participation in those trips, our ascension to the governing bodies of the various multilateral organizations have struck a chord. Certainly, the technical staff was intimately involved in helping the past administration as it is right now, helping the present administration. And it would be useful, mature, and measured if this administration would make the point that what they are doing is continuing what has been done by successive administrations. It would, in fact, ring truer in that regard. Madam Speaker, Bouncy, as an organization, has substantial potential to contribute to the transformation of the agriculture sector. But let me be clear, not for the reasons I heard stated here today. And it is my hope that in caucus, the persons with responsibility for agriculture, who I believe are talented Bahamians with the capacity and certainly commitment to make a difference in this sector, would get together, collaborate, not just with the persons within the ministry presently, but also talk to the past administration and others who would have served. Because clearly, there is a fundamental misunderstanding of the role of Bouncy. Bouncy is an educational and research agency founded by the Progressive Liberal Party and holds substantial potential to produce the next generation of agriculturalists, persons in the marine and life sciences, and related fields. They would join the cadre of Bahamians who are training presently all around the world to put us in a strategic position to be net exporters rather than importers. The potential is real. When we came to government in 2017, the Honorable Renwood Wells was tasked with the responsibility of overseeing that ministry for 1 year, and the last 3.5 years, I had the honor of serving in an area that I'd loved but not worked in for many years. Having attended the College of the Bahamas and obtained an associate's degree in agriculture, went to Tuskegee University in Alabama, and obtained a bachelor's degree in plant and soil science, and then went on to McGill and did some graduate courses in agricultural economics. The reality is, we didn't come to this house seeking to berate the other side. We came in the house with very measured considerations on how we could improve the sector. And we did, in a substantial way. Bouncy, and I won't go into the history now, I will certainly return to the House in order to lay a very important, some documents that I think would be very helpful so we could understand the history. The minister seemed not to be aware that when Bouncy was started, there wasn't a site plan. I think we've heard in this administration talking about another project. Over the last 4.5 years, there wasn't a site plan in place. There was not a site plan. It was an idea. And I love ideas, so I don't fault it. But an architect had to be contracted later to design a site plan, though work had begun in earnest. There are buildings that had to be moved multiple times. When we talk about cost overruns, I've had to correct a member on the other side when they talked about the baseball stadium. And again, so now with Bouncy, let me be clear. There was substantial cost overruns related to Bouncy. So if we're talking about a budget somewhere in the vicinity of $20 million, I think the counting has exceeded now $50+ million that had been spent during the last Progressive Liberal Party's administration. We did not seek to litigate that issue in this parliament. We were in the chair, so we didn't talk about here's what must happen. We came and talked about here is what we're doing to contribute to food security. You're in government now, so this continuous conversation about what must happen. We are long on what must happen, but short on identifying the very specific things that will make those things happen. So cost overruns were plentiful. It is my hope that you would be able to complete all of the buildings and make sure they are all occupied. I would have loved to see that happen. The board, oh, by the way, the board that is presently in place did not exist in 2017. The financial controls that are in place did not exist in 2017. These are things that were put in place to ensure accountability, transparency. Did they get all of it right? Of course not. Was it a marked improvement on what was met in place? Definitely. So when we talk about before and after, before is no site plan. Before is constructing buildings over caves. It was cavernous. Some suggested let's just pour concrete in it. No physical studies done. Foundations had to be relocated, and the Bahamian people picked up the cost. That's what happened. We could go on and litigate any number of inappropriate or problematic things or costly things that were done as it relates to Bouncy. But that doesn't move the food security issue ahead, which is why it is ill-advised for this kind of approach in discussions that we are presently engaged in. And no, Pastor, Jesus is the way, Bouncy isn't. And so I want to say that the bill, which we have substantially framed, and you are now introducing, we embrace this bill. There's no opposition to the bill. There are a number of areas.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Sajid.
Madam Speaker, I was very serious when I spoke about Bouncy, because I'm very passionate about food security in this country.
Yes, sir.
I didn't come to this house to make fun. I come to this house to speak truth and to speak power to it. So when it comes to me and my Jesus, he should be all about Jesus.
Yes, sir.
And I don't ever want you to think that that was just a mess sermon, sir. That came from my heart. Because the people in this Commonwealth of the Bahamas, they want difference, Madam Speaker.
Yes, sir.
They don't want us to come in this house and play games. They're looking for real people who have their back. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honourable
Yes,
member.
sir.
Chair recognizes the honourable member for Marcus.
Thank you, member for Southern Shores. For a moment, I thought you were going to get up and defend the Christianity, but I understand. Let me say this. The bill. Sorry. The bill. The bill, Madam Speaker, has substantial potential. One of the things I think we can do during the committal stage, there are a number of edits that are important, amendments that are extremely important before we proceed. And so permit me just very briefly to talk broadly about some of the things that the administration should consider. One, there's 4 parts, and might wish to consider part 5, which is to look at adding a section on research, and of course, looking at a demonstration farm. That component is missing from the bill. So any discussion of Bouncy has to include a thorough discussion of Bouncy as a research institution and a demonstration farm. So I wish to submit, Madam Speaker, that Bouncy is misunderstood by the administration at the moment. I believe it is something that could be corrected because the founders are still a part of the organization and ought to provide that guidance. Bouncy was not designed to be a net producer or a massive producer of fruits, vegetables, livestock, etc. Bouncy is 800 acres. 800 acres. And unless you are putting a substantial or a portion of 800 acres under cultivation using new technologies such as hydroponics or aquaponics, you're not going to produce the volume required on open 800 acre production. And so, again, there is a misconception about the role that Bouncy ought to play. And in fact, the bill does not speak to these objectives and the boast of what will happen as a result of it being passed. It doesn't logically follow. The passing of this
The chair
bill...
recognizes the honorable member for West Grand, Bahamas and Bimini.
Madam Speaker, I just want to correct the member as a point of order. Member is suggesting that this side does not understand the purpose of Bouncy. He's also suggesting that we, the founders, who were a member of the last administration, could better advise. But we seek to better advise you, and I quote from the Honorable Perry Christie, because the Honorable Perry Christie was the Prime Minister at the time, and for you, I'll talk about this later today, but just for the record, this is what he said. It is my government's vision that Bouncy will form an integral part of the University of the Bahamas, and that it will be affiliated with the University of Miami and other reputable international universities in areas of agriculture, marine science, and research. And he goes on. To complete the quote, he says, we are convinced that Bouncy will become a center of excellence in the region. With considerable growth in related industries, we can make inroads to diversifying our economy, become more sustainable in terms of providing food for our own consumption and the millions of visitors who visit our shores annually. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member.
West Grand Bahama and Bimini for making the point.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Central and South.
Multiple points of order?
Yeah, I can have one, right? I thought so. Madam Speaker, you know, I heard the former minister and member speak a lot about policy and where we're taking Bouncy. You know, when I tried to take the high road with this, I thought I was very measured in my contribution. You know, but the former minister made an announcement about privatizing parts of Bouncy. And it goes even further than that. You know, he spoke about the legislation, what they had in place of Foster bring forth. And a part of this legislation speaks about, with the board's approval, creating private entities within Bouncy that will then be private unto themselves. So when you speak about policy and what this administration is doing with Bouncy, it's a vast difference. And I try not to bring that up today, right? But the member just needs to restrain herself. Thank you.
So again, thanks again, West End and Bimini, for making the point. The point is that Bouncy can do exactly what was mentioned by the former Prime Minister as a research and educational institution, not as a center for mass production of fruits and vegetables that are in fact in competition with local farmers. And that has historically been the complaint by the Bahamian public, that it was inappropriate for Bouncy to function in the manner that it functioned. And so I do believe that the bill, if it is applied correctly, this can become one of the preeminent institutions in the region relative to research and relative to educating the next generation of persons in marine resources as well as in agriculture. Let me make this point. As it relates to involving private entities, one of the things this bill does not fully capture, and it is my hope in the finance section, that you would insist upon the formation of subcommittees. The subcommittees, I would recommend, Minister, that those subcommittees be enshrined in this particular piece of legislation so that they can look, the subcommittee on finance, for example, can look at public-private partnerships to make sure you are able to take a portion of Bouncy and get in partnership, public-private partnership with agencies that have pockets that are deep enough, expertise as well, to make parts of Bouncy a going concern. Public-private partnership. I have no clue what the minister is talking about with respect to creating standalone business enterprises in Bouncy. No, public-private partnership, which brings me to another point. The idea of packing houses in the traditional way in which we've been operating, whether through Bouncy or through the Department of Agriculture, is an idea whose time has passed for it to discontinue. It is important that the government gets out of the business of being the group that purchases from farmers and in many cases paying them a nominal fee, having the products then waste as it did under the F&M and the PLP. It is important that we privatize public-private partnerships with the feed mill, public-private partnerships with the packing houses, public-private partnerships with the entire national slaughterhouse system, where it is then overseen by veterinarians in BASFA as well as the Department of Agriculture. We can create multiple entrepreneurs who do exceptionally well in food processing as well as distribution by the simple act of a public-private partnership with the packing houses. It is a bad idea that the government is now embarked on to go backwards. We went to cabinet and got approval to issue a request for proposal so that private business persons with deep pockets and expertise can work in conjunction with government to make sure that we have a functional feed mill, a functional national slaughterhouse system, properly supervised by veterinarians, and a proper packing house system. Imagine for a moment that you are able to empower Bahamians on multiple islands to control the packing houses so that they can immediately compete as major distributors of fruits, vegetables, and other agriculture products. We got approval to proceed on all of those fronts. So again, when you talk about talk rather than results, this administration has gone out of its way to talk about the fact that Bahamians can now, those persons who are producing, can now rely on a policy that mandates that any food store, restaurant, any wholesaler, retailer, cruise ships, those that are purchasing and selling food must purchase at least 40% of their food from a Bahamian producer. That was decided under our administration. And then if government is to have the moral authority to enforce that policy, then it must itself spend 75 cents of every dollar with a Bahamian producer. So at the prison, where $40,000 a month is being spent on bread, imagine that money consistently going to Bahamians. Imagine all of the food sold through the Ministry of Health, through the corrections, the Ministry of National Security, that all of those funds are then spent with Bahamians. That has been approved and is a policy that has been touted by this Ministry of Agriculture today. These are things that at the end of the day will motivate more Bahamians to get into the sector. We also got approval to put in place both the infrastructure and the ecosystem for the development of the poultry industry. Breeder birds, poultry both for eggs as well as for meat. We did the same thing with food processing. Approval to put in place the ecosystem and infrastructure for food processing so we could carve into the $400 million bill. These are foundational things that have been done, not merely talked about, approved and began to yield benefits. Today, we are in advanced discussions, and it is my hope it's continuing with Atlantis to make sure that there are contract farmers, Andres, South, North. There is an agreement with Atlantis to enter into arrangements with Bahamian farmers to supply the items that they are presently serving to their guests. And we've had multiple discussions. We've gotten the list of items. What is the quantity? What are the prices? And what is required to facilitate the supply of those items? And where on Andros they cannot be produced, New Providence, because of its proximity, is ideal. That same discussion was taken to farmers on various islands with a view of entering into similar arrangements with properties on various islands. We met with food stores, all of the categories I just mentioned, with a view of finding out what items are your customers demanding, how can we better serve you, what are the gaps from the point of pre-production all the way to packaging that exists that hinders Bahamians from benefiting all along the value chain. The studies that you're able to quote from today are studies we commissioned with the IDB, with the Food and Agriculture Organization, with CARDI, with IECA, studies that have been conducted that you now have access to. So yes, the studies may not have been sexy, but the results are for real. What it does is it permits policymakers to make evidence-based decision rather than speaking from conjecture or speculation. or talking about what feels good without having the concrete information to guide significant decisions. The top 77 items are now known by the ministry in terms of what has potential for import substitution as a result of those studies conducted. We now know that we have the capacity not to compete with all of these products, with hundreds and hundreds of products, but we know at least 77 products in the Bahamas, we have the ability to substitute the import of those items based on studies conducted by multiple agencies. Right now, your ministry is able to talk about a broad strategic plan because we retain the services of a consultant who's now working with you to look at a broad strategic plan in each of the subsectors of agriculture, continuing a tradition that has been done by previous ministers to look ever so often at a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 20-year plan. All of these things are absolutely necessary. We were committed to artificial insemination to make sure that we are able to bring the appropriate breeds of livestock to the Bahamas in a convenient and safe and scientifically proven manner. Again, we are committed to moving the sector forward. So as you look at this bill, it is important to appreciate what the role of Bouncy is. It is a research and educational institution. It was and is a mistake to see it as a production facility for the government. It can be a production facility for a government in partnership with private enterprise. Use government land, using government personnel for the purpose of massive production. There has been tremendous wastage that can easily be hidden because of the nature of how the government system operates. And so as we get into the amendment stage, there are a series of things that are important. One is it would have been useful for the regulations to come along with this particular bill. And of course, the minister cannot have unfettered power in this. I heard the comment that the minister, there's a check on the powers of the minister. No, there are some lines in here to talk about as the minister sees fit. No, if someone is going to be removed from a board, it should be communicated in writing. So not as the minister deems it necessary. And in terms of discipline, there ought to be a reference in the bill to a manual that has the progressive disciplining mechanism in place. So the minister ought not be involved in determining what discipline, nor the president without reference to a manual that outlines whether there's a written warning, whether is there a second, and then is it a third, or is there something so egregious that you can go to immediate discipline? So those items ought to be embedded. Yeah. So again, some matters need to be spelled out. Unchecked power in the hands of politicians is a troubling thing, and so it is important that we take a look at that. Let me also. Let me also say that there is a need for a national laboratory system. And so one of the things we also did through BASFA as one example, but otherwise, is to ask for support to make sure we set up a national laboratory system. One of the things that Bouncy needs is a state-of-the-art laboratory system that would feed classroom instruction as well as field studies. And so, and that should be a part of a national system of laboratories where we build in redundancies. In other words, you have other labs that can check your results or double check your results. Some of you would recall that we had an outbreak of some microbes in the water in Andros some time back. Bouncy played a pivotal role along with BASFA and other agencies across the government spectrum in addressing that issue. What would have been wonderful is if we had on island laboratories that can assist in conducting those requisite studies. We also paid close attention, member for Southern Shores, to an important mechanism on how we attract foreign direct investment into the sector. And so BAIC certainly can play a pivotal role in ensuring that it functions as the business arm of the Ministry of Agriculture, and ought to be careful to what extent you permit the establishment of an agribusiness department separate and apart from your operation, because your operation is in fact the agribusiness component of the Ministry of Agriculture. So, Madam Speaker, with those few words, I wish to say that certainly we support the bill. We have a number of amendments that we would like to commend to the government for consideration. I'm sure the grammatical matters and so forth have been taken care of, but we'll point those out as well as we go along. But a number of amendments we believe will benefit the improvement of this bill. As always, we are committed to working with the government to ensure that there is food security in the Bahamas. And one final point I would say, that a part of the food security issue is not just the production of the correct types of food that are nutritious, but it is also ensuring that adequate food get to residents of the Bahamas. And so it is our hope. We saw one of our ministers laboring over what can we do to help the vulnerable. Well, one of the things we can do is to ensure that the food distribution program is put in place at a level that is commensurate with the challenges faced by Bahamians who are presently food insecure. We wish to encourage the government to move quickly to reinstate in totality that particular program. With those few words, Marco City supports this bill.
Thank you, Honorable Member Asmini. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for North Andros and the Berry Islands.
Madam Speaker, my parliamentarian colleagues, good afternoon. Psalms 91 says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadows of the Most High." I rise on my feet today to represent the great and exceptional people of North Andros and the Berry Islands, who afforded me the opportunity to be their voice in this honorable house. Madam Speaker, I would also like to wish a happy birthday to my firstborn, Caden Leo, who is celebrating his 10th year birthday. Daddy would have been in Orlando today, but because of my commitment to country, I would indeed make this up to him. Over Disneyland. Indeed, my commitment to country, Daddy would make it up to you. Also, to his godfather, Vernon Gibson, who is celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday. Madam Speaker, in my contribution to the supplementary budget, I indicated that in my role as Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Marine Resources, and Family Island Affairs, I am committed to assisting my minister, the Honorable Clay Sweeting. I would help to bring the necessary changes needed to strengthen this sector. In doing so, we must continue to create policies and legislations for our people to see agriculture business as a viable option to becoming successful entrepreneurs. Additionally, it is important to create policies. We must interest the younger generation in becoming a part of this industry for them to see it as a viable career choice. Madam Speaker, it is interesting to note that more than 80% of our farmers are 60 years old or over. We must attract the younger generation for the agriculture business industry to survive. It is important to note that the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute, Bouncy, was launched in 2013 as the brainchild of former the Right Honorable Prime Minister Perry Christie. It is noted that Bouncy was a key part of the government's overall plan to build a more modern and prosperous nation. Madam Speaker, the ongoing pandemic has taught us that we must not only focus on tourism and banking. However, we must narrow our focus on becoming a nation who can feed ourselves. Our various parking houses must be fully equipped with the modern technology, which includes point-of-sale systems and a distribution center, must be able to host inventory control on a database to ensure that we are operating a modern and a successful business. This will greatly appreciate the workers and give patrons the opportunity to place orders in the comfort of their homes and on their computer systems and create the comfort and the ease of doing business. With 21st century standards, it speaks to our administration's commitment to institutions such as Bouncy and BAIC that we prepared to commence our journey of food sustainability. Madam Speaker, the genesis of Bouncy was to ensure that the local farmers of those desirous of entering the agriculture business obtain the necessary knowledge and skill sets to become successful in this field. The groundwork is already in place, and we must ensure that the institution plays a vital role in what is designed to and place our country in a position to become self-sufficient. We can increase our production on various family islands and decrease the number of imports where we can produce locally. Bouncy offers teaching and training in various branches of agriculture and marine science and related disciplines. The Institute, as its programs are registered and approved by the National Accreditation Equivalency Council of the Bahamas, NACOB. The program provides the professional and technical qualifications necessary for various branches of agriculture and marine science and offer academic training and extensive hands-on orientation with goal of providing students with the entrepreneurial and technical skills needed to make an effective and immediate impact. Additionally, Madam Speaker, we must continue with ongoing research and partnership between Bouncy, the University of the Bahamas, and the US-based agriculture schools to determine increased agriculture projections and appropriate crop mix. These plans should include labor requirements, appropriate training, shipping and storage requirements, and the potential for farm-to-table sales to restaurants in the Bahamas and local food requirements. Madam Speaker, when we took office, the team from the ministry, inclusive of the minister and senior management, visited the institution to determine the best way forward in order to get this institution functioning to its full potential. We met with the traditional farmers, associate leaders, and entrepreneurs to discuss relevant matters on agriculture. Outstanding work is still need to be completed. The Minister of Works, Honorable Alfred Sayers, has already committed to addressing all outstanding matters, including the electrification of the empty buildings at Bouncy. Yes. Madam Speaker, just recently I had the opportunity to watch a video with my fellow Androsian, Chavara Roca, the CEO of Chick Chinese Farms, and the success of organic strawberry farms on Andros. Success stories as these shows the large potential that can be afforded to farmers and how lucrative the business can be. We know exactly what we are eating and the quality of the products. When we increase opportunities for them, the food store chains, wholesalers, and local individuals would become inclined to purchase from them, and we decrease the number of imports coming into our country. It is time we create avenues to make our own become wealthy and for the wealth to be common in the Bahamas. Madam Speaker, I continue to stress the importance of us developing our family islands. We can do so with the assistance of public-private partnership, PPPs. As a part of public-private partnership, red bay docks can be developed with a floating dock that is able to withstand 8 to 10 feet of tidal surge to support increased commercial fishing, sport fishing, ecotourism, and the sponge and fly fishing industries. Build a small boat marina that we can stand to 10-foot tidal surge at Barron Point, South Andros. Marina should provide ferry services to South Andros, which will enable extended agriculture produce sales and expand domestic ecotourism to include visits to the blue holes, freshwater resources, natural pine forests, mangroves, and flats. Our family islands are rich in natural resources. We must tap into those resources for sustainable development, create jobs and business opportunities for the benefit of all Bahamians. Madam Speaker, as it relates to our fishing industry, there's an extensive number of opportunities in our waters. The ministry will work enthusiastically with our fishermen to create new opportunities and open new markets. However, there is still more work to be done in the technical and vocational aspect of this industry. We must continue to open new doors again for our younger generation to see this viable career option and for this industry to survive. Madam Speaker, I think it's notable to mention that our very own minister, the Honorable Clay Sweeting, was a successful fisherman. Spanish wells has produced several successful men who chose this industry as their career path. God has truly blessed our waters with some of the finest marine products in the world. This is no secret, Madam Speaker. Poaching in our water is an issue we must continue to address because individuals continue to seek after what God has blessed us with. Modern technology continues to be an extensive device to help increase production and has proven to be the revolution in the Bahamas. This can also serve as a prevention mechanism in the area of poaching to assist our Royal Bahamas Defense Force Marines. Madam Speaker, I would like also to commend the hard-working Marines of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force for outstanding job as they continue to serve and protect our waters. Madam Speaker, with the mission of Bouncy is to be the leader in providing first-class education, cutting-edge technology, and technical training in agriculture, marine science, and related disciplines. We are devoted to a nation-wide mission of inspiring entrepreneurs and preparing students for a successful career. The institution has the potential of endless opportunities for our people, lifelong skills, job opportunities to become successful entrepreneurs, and revitalizing the tourism market. Madam Speaker, in my conclusion, we have our new board in place, and they are being appraised of our mandate of food sustainability. We will work earnestly and in hand with the relevant stakeholders to achieve this goal. The road ahead, no doubt, will be an arduous task, but we are determined, with the help of our Lord, to make it happen. Madam Speaker, thank you, and good afternoon.
Thank you, Honorable Member. As many? The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Golden Gates.
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity to again stand in this House. I give thanks to Almighty God for the opportunity to rise and to speak on behalf of the great constituents of the Gates. I remain humbled and proud to be here to represent those industrial, skillful, and proud residents of Golden Gates. GG. I send get well wishes to Naldo Countman Moxie. He is an entrepreneur and a representative of the type of enterprise that we support in this administration. He's a staple in the Golden Gates community for his most popular count stand, and he's also a salesman of local fish and seafood products. He's been in hospital for a few days, and Team Gigi and I are keeping him in our individual and collective prayers for a speedy recovery. But in the meantime, I want to encourage everyone to continue to patronize his conch stall on Carmichael Road that is being ably manned by his beautiful mother, Becca, until he is fit to return to work. I also give a shout out to Team Gigi captains and the members of our constituency office, the hardworking team of Michelle, Desi, Eddie, Dario, and Travis, as we continue to be a presence in the Golden Gates community, feeding the children of the Sybil Strawn Primary hot breakfast and residents in the community hot meals. Many calls and messages of appreciation come in, and it's heartwarming, but for me, it's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to be able to serve. I would also say hello to my mother, who's always tuned in and always has some words of advice, after I'm done with my contributions. But Madam Speaker, today I rise to support the member for Central and South Eleuthera, the sexy minister of agriculture. And I say that, the matter of food security and sustainability in this nation is an initiative that this Davis administration is bringing to bear for the benefit of Bahamians, I'm sure we've all seen the news about farming in the Bahamas lately, and the backyard farming phenomenon, if you want to call it that. Most recently, we've learned that one of the most innovative, technologically advanced farming projects in the world is being launched by a few young, enterprising Bahamian entrepreneurs to provide fresh produce for our nation. The same fresh, native-grown produce that Sean Roker, another Golden Gates entrepreneur, sells right next to Naldo's Conch Stall on Carmichael Road. Or Miss Laura, Golden Gates stalwart, the biggest PLP, who has sold fresh produce for years. She's built a home, she's raised her children on the sale of fresh native produce. And now Miss Laura's daughter, Kira, she's expanded the business into fresh fruit smoothies and fruit bowls. You know, it's amazing that what we can achieve with what we have here, grown locally, and how much enterprise can come out of it. It's up to the government, us, to continue to create fertile ground from which ideas such as these can continue to spring up and easily change the landscape for the Bahamas. We don't want to create one or two great farming projects and a few local vendors. We want to create an abundance of them, all filling vital needs for our people. Just a few years ago, when the former PLP administration launched Bouncy, food security was a major part of the vision. The government believed that by investing in the education and training of local farmers, we would set the ball rolling to gain momentum towards greater security and sustainability. Despite all the talk by the opposition at the time attempting to downplay Bouncy as an institution, time has proven that what we have in Bouncy is a greatly needed agency with an amazing facility and tremendous potential. Madam Speaker, the thing about being the one to have the vision that others don't always see what you can see. You know, my colleague from Central and South Eleuthera quoted one of my favorite scriptures, Proverbs 29:18, that says, without vision, the people perish. When the foundations were being poured for Bouncy, the naysayers couldn't see it. They had no vision. The idea that Bouncy could be the vehicle through which we could make strides towards feeding ourselves was a foreign concept to them. You know, they like to say the PLP lives in Wonderland when it comes to our vision, but we always make what they call impossible possible. There are people out there in the wider Bahamas who thought a better investment would be to sell Andros off to investors and allow mining pits that would eventually be turned into real estate developments once the mines were fully tapped. The idea that we would invest in empowering the average everyday Bahamian to learn how to feed themselves and sustain their families is an unfamiliar concept to some critics out there. But the PLP government was determined, despite any hiccups, to bring the vision of Bouncy into fruition. Thankfully, the government of the day saw fit to see that investment through, and now it is paying dividends for the Bahamian people. Madam Speaker, Bouncy was launched nearly 8 years ago. While tremendous progress would have been made since then, it's clear that some people, and I won't call any names as yet, but some people did not see fit to invest in Bouncy the way it should have been invested in. Consequently, when the Davis administration assumed office in 2021, we met tremendous disarray, as displayed by the member for Central and South Eleuthera in a number of areas that demanded our immediate attention. Our vision for a modern-day Bouncy with the institutional autonomy necessary to avoid political interference. With this Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute bill we are discussing today, we are realizing that vision. Having strengthened the framework that was in place, our priority is to build a world-class team to get this work done. Bouncy's board is fully functional and staffed with industry professionals. These are objectively qualified individuals who have a lot to contribute to agricultural development. We've moved to have our Senator, Dr. Eurecia Hepburn, incorporated as president of Bouncy, and with her extensive experience and degrees in science, agricultural economics, and agricultural policy, I am certain that no one can deny that she is the right woman for the job. I extend congratulations to my colleague for Central and South Eleuthera, who in a few short months has drafted this bill and is manning his teams for progressive advancements. To any outside observers, I just want you to know, if it seems like we're in a rush, it's because we have to make up for all of the lost time. We have no time to wait on food security for the Bahamas. Everyone knows we are not where we need to be. For all the talk, the former administration did not focus enough on unleashing the potential of Bouncy. I don't know if it's due to competing priorities, lack of business interest, or the fact that it was started by the PLP government, or a lack of belief in the ability of the Bahamas to make progress towards feeding itself. Whatever the reason, Bouncy has been terribly neglected. But that's okay. Bouncy was birthed by the PLP and has always been a PLP baby. Others may try to claim it now, Madam Speaker, that it's growing into the organization that it is today. But many of these hypocritical praises coming from the very people who once criticized Bouncy when it was launched. We ask you to not come bragging on it now, because the PLP is back and we're going to take care of our baby. It only makes sense that the farmer who planted the seed would be the one to nourish the seed and see it grow to fruition. PLP governments have always launched institutions that stand the test of time. Bouncy is no exception. Just like it takes time to grow a seed into a full-grown tree, this kind of national development and institutional growth takes time, resources, patience. And when that harvest comes, and it will come, this nation will reap the rewards of our work. That is what long-term national development is all about. We don't think in terms of 5-year cycles. This Davis-led administration intends to leave a positive mark on this nation and the world for generations to come. Madam Speaker, there are 3 events in our recent history that have demonstrated to us what can happen without proper food security. Over 20 years ago, we saw the short-term impact of 9/11 on global trade. We saw the acute transportation and shipping issues brought on by a disaster at the scale of a Hurricane Dorian. And now, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen the impact of medium to long-term supply chain and shipping issues exacerbated by fluctuating oil prices and resulting in price inflation in local grocery stores. The Bahamas cannot sustain its current over-reliance on imported food items. We must take steps towards decreasing our national food bill and stabilizing the supply chain during times of crisis. If we fail to take bold action now, our economy will pay the price later. An empowered and well-resourced Bouncy opens up new pathways towards food security and sustainability. New industries, sub-industries will emerge within agriculture, aquaculture, ecotourism, marine science, research, and conservation. It cannot be stated enough that education is the key to unlocking all of this great potential, especially if we want to create homegrown industries where Bahamians make up the workforce at every level, and also major ownership stakes, all while helping to make this nation, our nation, a better, more secure place. This is the Davis administration's vision for Bouncy. Madam Speaker, through the initiatives that emerge via Bouncy, we will expand access to healthier lifestyles and diets. Organic food can be made more affordable for the average Bahamian. Bahamians living on remote family islands with limited budgets in the heart of Nassau do not have to continue living in a food desert where they don't have access to basic healthy food, and the more affordable options for them are unhealthy options. My cabinet colleague responsible for agriculture and marine resources, the member for Central and South Eleuthera, has worked hard, is a hard worker, and is about to bring about changes. As one who is experienced in the field, as he has noted, he can attest to the fact that there are many farmers throughout our islands, both in the areas of subsistence and commercial farming, who are experts in local agriculture. They know which crops grow well, when they should be planted and harvested, and the best techniques for growing crops in our soil. Through engaging them via Bouncy, we are now passing that knowledge on to young Bahamians who carry that knowledge with them and build on it with modern research, technology, and new practices. That's a recipe, in my opinion, for national advancement, and is the power of institutionally driven change. This is why it's always been worth investing in institutions that stand the test of time, and this is the PLP way. Madam Speaker, it's an exciting time and a sexy time for agriculture in the Bahamas. As the representative for Golden Gates, I will ensure that my Golden Gates constituents are not left behind. Already, with the help of the member for Central and South Eleuthera, we are planning major infrastructural and operational changes to the Golden Gates fish market, where we will modernize its operations, make it more sustainable for local fishermen. We will be accommodating local farmers, including those who participate in backyard farming initiatives, so that they can sell their ware and make a profit while contributing to the food security of the community and the nation. Golden Gates is launching a vegetable and herb garden at our constituency office that will be taken care of by the children in the Golden Gates community, with contributions made by local farmers in our community to get the garden started. We're also donating a greenhouse to Sybil Strawn Primary School so that we can get our young ones interested in agriculture and understanding how to feed themselves from a young age. This is not only needed in our community, especially when it comes to healthy, organic eating and lifestyle, but the promotion of a culture of knowing how to feed oneself and eating healthier is a revolution in itself. Golden Gates is fully on board with what the government and the Minister of Agriculture, Marine Resources, and Family Island Affairs is doing. Madam Speaker, in our blueprint for change, we talked about the need for greater food security and expanded access to healthy, nutritious foods, as well as the promotion of agribusiness and the blue and green economies through Bouncy. A lot of people read manifestos and other documents put out during election with a healthy dose of skepticism. They don't put much stock into the promises made within the pages of these booklets. But I'm here today to tell the Bahamian people that when we pledged to increase food security in the Bahamas, we meant it. Yes. We already see developments underway that are symbolic of a government that is fully committed to food security. More initiatives are on the way, and I'm sure that Bouncy will play an integral role in helping us to set the roadmap to feeding ourselves and diversifying into new opportunities within agriculture. I look forward most to the lives we will be able to change, the children we will be able to inspire, and the opportunities that will be generated for years to come. Madam Speaker, I thank you, and may God bless us all.
Thank you, Honorable Member Asmini. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for St. Anne's.
I'm obliged, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on behalf of the great constituents of St. Anne's, and I do put my armor on. I'm going to congratulate this administration for bringing this bill forward. Ultimately, this is a bill that I do support. I'd like to recognize my party leader, Forward United. I second all the comments and arguments raised by him thus far. Madam Speaker, this morning when I came into the House, I opened an envelope that was addressed to me, and when I did, it was a handwritten note from a citizen in our country. It was enclosing a prayer for me to be guided by, and requesting that we all be guided by that prayer as we move forward. I mention this only, Madam Speaker, because this shows the connection that our public has with the activities of this great honorable House, and reiterates to me the importance of the work that we do here. Madam Speaker, when we began this morning, we heard from Bishop Derek Clare, and it was unfortunate news that he had conveyed and that yourself shared with this House about his vehicle. Madam Speaker, I looked to my wallet as soon as that request came forward, the same way that I react in church when the collection plate surprises me, and I might get cut short. I've had to request my colleagues to lend me money on 2 occasions in the past. One was Courtney Calibali, the candidate for Senate, and another one was the Honorable Senator Maxine Seymour. Madam Speaker, when I looked in my wallet today, I realized that I must only have had my parking allowance. It was a total of $18. Oh, and I'm just noticing now, Madam Speaker, that there's a great man on the front of the $5 note, the founding member of the Free National Movement, Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield. I don't think that this $18 will go too far towards buying a car. So I'm gonna do, Madam Speaker, as I think is my gift, and that is to be the little drummer boy that I am. And I'm gonna play my drum. My drum is my heart. My tools, Madam Speaker, are my little drum and my sling. I have a sling that can take down Goliath, Madam Speaker, and my sling, Madam Speaker, is my tongue. So with the beat of my heart and the movement of my tongue, I'm going to now suggest to this honorable House that Cabinet give consideration to our appointed chaplain being provided a vehicle from Cabinet, so that while our chaplains are doing their business, which is of most significance because we are a nation under God, that they be prevented from the misfortune of our chaplain today in having no vehicle to drive at all. Madam Speaker, I'm going to turn my attention now to the bill, the matter of debate before us. I've heard a lot about electrical connections at Bouncy. I didn't hear anything about the number of students presently at Bouncy, which should be the focus of any learning institute. Madam Speaker, I heard about increasing food security, yet there's stories circulating on WhatsApp, social media, about a farmer. Now I say stories because I'm not that farmer, but this farmer took a crop of tomatoes, and half of the tomatoes were turned away because even though that they were full, they were undersized. So I'm going to ask, Madam Speaker, that if there's any truth to that, that the Bouncy board, the newly appointed Bouncy board, pay attention to ways in which we can ensure that the crop that is produced in this country is received. And there's, this is clearly within the ambit of those in the Ministry of Agriculture. If there's truth to it, let's not turn crops away. Let's make sure that we're finding a use, whether it's through the cannery or otherwise, of everything that's produced here.
Point for tomatoes. I don't think they was turned away, but we was made aware. I spoke to the chairman for VIC that we address the issue. I think the price point was low. It was not they was turned away.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member.
I'm obliged, Madam Speaker. I'm doing my part to be the mouthpiece of the people as well, and I'm glad that there's some clarification being given on that. Madam Speaker, the minister spoke about cutting the red tape, cutting back a lot of the red tape. I agree with that 100%. And Madam Speaker, I appreciate the connotation of red tape. So I'm just gonna speak to that briefly. I think too much red tape is never good, but a little bit of red tape, since it's a mechanism for checks and balance, is necessary in any entity. I had also asked that as we cut away at the red tape, that we ensure, now this is going to be slightly offensive to some people, that we ensure that the yellow stick remains holstered. And what I mean by the yellow stick, the minister acknowledged that in the 70s, early 70s, we had a thriving agricultural industry in the country. And it's undeniable that for the next 20 years, we were under PLP government and that agricultural industry appeared to disappear. Again, credit due to the PLP for bringing Bouncy back under the Christie administration. But as we cut back at red tape, let's holster that yellow stick. And Madam Speaker, the final thing that is going to be a little contentious before I get right into the bill is the fact that the MP from Golden Gates acknowledged that they birthed Bouncy and that we failed to support it or claim that we failed to support it on the Free National Movement. And in all of this discussion, I know the public's going to be interested in this. In all of this discussion, I only realized remembered a few moments ago that this Bouncy project is one that burnt down its main dormitory building and there was no insurance around. So giving birth to something, Madam Speaker, isn't the only part of producing and bringing good into this world. We must make sure that by our own actions, we don't jeopardize it and we don't, Madam Speaker, arguably almost abort it. Madam Speaker, turning to the act now, I'll be finished by 1 o'clock, Madam Speaker. Turning to the act, I know that my colleague from Fox Hill normally addresses amendments. I would recommend review of section 4, subsection 3. I think that the second to last word there should not be duty given, but duly given, D-U-L-Y. I propose that amendment be made to section 4, subsection 3, so that the section would now read, the common seal of the Institute, when affixed to any document and duly authenticated under the section, shall be judicially and officially noticed, and unless and until the contrary is proved, any necessary order or authorization of the board on this section shall be presumed to have been duly given, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm going to turn to section 5 of the act. I know that this this bill can be amended from time to time. And I note that the areas include our marine resources and marine and aquaculture. Turning to section 5, subsection 2 of the act, Madam Speaker, at subsection 2P. So this would read, without prejudice to the generality of subsection 1A and B, the Institute shall provide a place of training offering instruction, including but not limited to all of the following fields of education. And you go down to subsection 2P, game bird and game animal management and improvement of related economies. It's extremely important. I know that the member for Central and South Eleuthero will note that a number of our men in the fishing industry and women in the fishing industry have strong complaint about the vessels that come into the country and sports fish our seas until their coolers are essentially full. And there's claims, and I do not doubt the truth of these claims, that some of those vessels even supply commercial ventures back in the United States. I would ask, Madam Speaker, if we can, that we add fisheries management as well, game fishing management. I apologize, Madam Speaker, that we add game bird and game fishing as well as game animal management to this subsection 2P provision. That'll be of significance to our countrymen because they will realize that we are hearing their cry.
Chair recognizes the honourable member for Fox Hill.
Economies. Did you mean economies or did you mean economics, as is there?
I meant economics as is there. I'm 43 years old now, Madam Speaker, and they say your eyes go a little bit when you turn 40. I probably aged 3 years slower than the average man, because now, admittedly this year, my eyes are not as strong as they were. Thank you, member for Fox Hill. Now, there was some, well, if I can turn, Madam Speaker, your attention to the schedule, which is contained on page 9 of the bill. Section 1 deals with the constitution of the board, and it has identified at 1A through E who the representatives of the board will be. B says 1 shall be an officer from the ministry responsible for education. C, 2 shall be officers from the ministry responsible for agriculture. D says 1 shall be an officer from the ministry responsible for labor. Now I know in consecutive administrations, the ministry responsible for agriculture has been connected to the ministry responsible for marine resources, but that's not necessarily always going to be the case. And if 2 shall be officers of the ministry responsible for agriculture and marine resources, then that may encourage a representative responsible for marine resources to always be involved in the board. It could read 1 from ministry responsible for agriculture and 1 from the ministry responsible for marine resources. And something that wasn't mentioned, I'm glad that each of these ministries was particularly identified, but a very important one to BAMSI on all levels is the Ministry of Environment. Initially, when the former Minister of Environment, Earl DeVoe, came up with the Planning and Subdivision Act, that was the act that was really going to regulate what projects were being done where. As far as planning, that was supposed to be where we're getting the plan for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from. So it's also extremely important, if we can, to try to make provision that someone from the Ministry of Environment is going to be represented on this board. Now, Madam Speaker, at Section 2, it deals with the tenure of office. I don't like to allow our governments to get labeled in a negative light, whether it's FN administrations or PLP administrations. I don't think that we're going to address the issue here, but at 2, it says the tenure of office. This is a new legislation. We are the legislators, so we could do it. But I haven't thought it through well enough to make a proposed amendment. But it speaks to tenure of office. A member of the board, other than the president, shall hold office for a period not exceeding 3 years. 3 years renewed is 6 years. No government term goes 6 years. Our government terms are limited to 5 years. I think that we need to start adjusting how we deal with the tenure of our board appointments and not simply rely on an expectation that if a government is voted out and you're sitting on a board, you should resign. I think that we can come up with a provision that would have a caveat that if government changes, your term also comes to an end. It may be renewed, but automatically it would be seen to come to an end, and the feelings that arise would not be so contentious, and people would not be blindsided. Madam Speaker, I had watched my honorable colleague from Central and South of Eleuthera, and I'd always seen him running, losing, getting in the Senate. I think in a way, until now. No, I'm only saying it because he was doing it probably for the longest of those that hadn't been elected, and he had that stick to it discipline, and he kept coming back, and now he's an honorable minister. Madam Speaker, I can wrap up in 2 minutes.
Okay, because it's the 1 o'clock hour. Okay.
But he said today that he's devoid of political theatrics, that he is a man of action. Now, Madam Speaker, if you're devoid of political theatrics, this guy
this minister, Madam Speaker, is the one that brought in the pineapples in the fall. He introduced displays to this term. But he also said today that he's a man of action. And Madam Speaker, I think men of action will realize that if you look at section 10 of the schedule, where the minimum requirement for these boards to meet is at least quarterly, that is not acceptable, Madam Speaker, would be my recommendation. People of action, men or women of action in this country, when we're trying to move this board forward, should have a minimum meeting period that is far more frequent than at least quarterly. When I was Town Planning Committee Chairman, we were meeting almost regularly every week. I'm just suggesting this, Madam Speaker, in case the minds can come together before we move to pass this legislation, that quarterly is way too long for a minimum period, considering also that you can be dismissed if you miss 3 consecutive months without permission of the board. That's contained in section 6. I would say that these minimum meetings need to be at least monthly, if not more. The people's business is at hand, and when you're appointed to a board, you're still doing the people's business. Madam Speaker, that concludes my contribution to the debate on the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute Bill 2022. As I began, I confirm my support for this bill, and I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Fox Hill.
Is it the intention of the other side to move amendments in the committee stage? Is that the point, or are you just raising these in the debate?
Today, I'm raising these. I'm raising these, and one of them at least will be moved, possibly more. We'll discuss during the lunch break.
Yeah, I always find it dangerous for the Parliament to be its own draft person, but except for the typo that you pointed out, which would be easy to fix. So I'm supposed to, and when you say as many, I'm supposed to get up next.
Madam Speaker, for the lunch break, to return at 3 o'clock this afternoon to continue this debate. At the time, Fox Hill will be in the chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Is there a second there?
Yes, second, sorry.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the business of this House be suspended until 3 p.m. All those in favor shall remain seated. Those opposed shall stand. The business of this House is suspended until 3 p.m.
All right.